Hey guys, Cloud here, and today we are going to be covering editing player health. So what does this mean? It means if I do scoreboard players set at S damage 13, some number that doesn't seem like I already had this planned, then I run the damage command. You will see that I was dealt exactly 13 points of damage because each half heart is worth 1 point. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 left out of 20. So custom damage, and then also, I can obviously die. And it says I fell out of the world. Of course, you can make a custom death message if you wanted, but it's just going to say you fell out of the world. Anyways, let's get into how to do this. It's kind of simple. I have told a lot of people how to do this in my Discord, but I wanted to make a FAQ type video with a dedicated data pack that just has everything there so that it's convenient. And anytime anybody asks, I just type in a Discord command and then here you go. Anyways, before we covered how to edit mob HP, which is a lot easier than player HP. The problem is you cannot directly edit player MBT, whereas with mobs you can edit their MBT, so it ends up being 3 commands, which is why I have a data pack in the description for you to download called player damage, but it will be really easy for you to just yoink the function files and put them in your own and changing the namespace and names. So it's not too complicated. It's very simple. And in terms of people on mobile, I'm not going to zoom in on the folder view because it makes me zoom in every time I click a folder. You can just download it and go through it as I talk about it, but I will zoom in on the functions so you can read a little bit easier. Anyways, so the basic principle of how to do this, because we can't edit player data, is first we have to reduce their HP. How do you reduce the HP? There's a lot of methods to reduce the HP. In this case, we're going to be using attribute, the /attribute command, and this assumes that their health can't be above 20 hearts. You can adapt it to make it work above, but I'm not going to sit here and type all day to suit some arbitrary need. All right, so then number 2, we need to update the HP bar. This part is important because a lot of people will just reduce the HP and then try and restore the HP, and let me show you kind of visually what the initial kind of idea is. So you have some hearts here, 1, 2, 3. And you have some empty ones. So what people want to do initially is, let's say that the desired thing is to remove one of these hearts. So what they'll do is they'll remove the HP, so the HP only can be 2 hearts. So you reduce the max HP and then restore the max HP to what it was before, effectively deleting this 1 heart. The problem is you need to update the HP when it's down here. Otherwise, when you restore it, it will actually remember that you had a heart there that was invisible. Anyways, so step 2 is update the HP bar, and step 3 is restore the HP. And one of the important things that will come into play here is the time between these 2 steps is much longer than the time between these 2 steps. So we'll take a look at what exactly I mean by that. So it's very simple. There's 3 commands, and there is 2 scoreboards and 1 function that is a special type of function, and we'll go over that in a second. Let me zoom in. I have a new syntax highlighter, so now everything looks different colored, but it also actually works. Okay, so the way this works is, let's accomplish step 1. So step 1 is to reduce the HP. So we grab the HP of whoever's running this command and store it temporarily on a fake player just to save efficiency and less commands. Less scoreboards. So we store what their current health is. Then we store what their max health is to return to later, because once we reduce their HP, we will want to put it back later, and you have to store it on a scoreboard because it will take multiple ticks before you actually restore it, and we'll go over that in a sec. But this is important because we need to be able to return it. Anyways, so we store what their current HP is, we subtract how much damage you plan to do from the current HP, and what this effectively will do is tell you how much HP they will have left after getting hurt. It will also reset their damage score just in case, but this is all just preference in terms of how you want to handle your quote-unquote pipeline of commands. So then what we do is, if their final destination HP is less than 0, then just kill them. But if their final destination HP is 1, then set their base max health to 1. And this just perpetuates for all of the variations up to 20. And finally, after we reduce their HP, so that's step 1, we need to update the HP bar. And there's a lot of ways to do that. In this case, well, there isn't too many, but you have to apply a potion effect of some kind. In this case, I used Wither, and the Wither basically does nothing since it's only for 1 second. and it doesn't really deal any damage, but it does update the HP bar. So then we need to return it. Now you could think, why don't we just return it within the same function? The problem is if you do it too quickly, then the wither doesn't really tick enough and actually update it. It basically will not update. So it takes a certain amount of ticks for this to update. And after doing some experimentation, it takes roughly 4 ticks for this to update. So what I did is I created I scheduled a function, and the function schedules itself every 4 ticks, effectively creating a 4-tick delay loop instead of a instant ticking function where it's every tick. This one ticks every 4 ticks. And every 4 ticks, we check if anybody has a return HP score, which means that, hey, we dealt damage, we need to go back to where we were. So if you have a return HP score, then you need to run return. And return is going to check that score and set their health back to the allotted amount, and then remove that whatever score they had by resetting them. And it needs to be 4 ticks. I tried 3 ticks. Sometimes it didn't work. I tried 5 ticks. It 100% worked. I tried 4 ticks. It 100% worked. Okay, so that's basically everything. Not too complicated. Some interesting notes and things you might want to change is the whole reset system. Another thing you might want to change is, well, in this format, if you run the damage command and then run the damage command again before the health is reset, you will break it, because it will it will not reset their HP. It'll reset it to what the first damage command was putting it down to. So yeah, you can have a bug if you run the damage command too frequently. So you can fix that by doing adding if score unless score at s return HP matches 1, and I'll leave it in there as a safety thing, but this might also have some unintended consequences. So it's really just a matter of how you handle your command pipeline and what is running this and how often it's allowed to run. But I'll leave that limiter in there. Anyways, so that's pretty much it. And then just to use this, I'll go over again how you use it. So you set anybody's damage score, some player's damage score, to how much damage you want to deal. So if I want to deal 5 damage, that's how much I'm going to do. And then as that player, you run PD damage. One thing to also note is when a player initially spawns in, you cannot deal damage to them. There is the invulnerability time associated. And also, if you have any issues with it, because I actually experienced a few issues in recording even, it's usually because this slow ticking function is not delayed enough. So I just delayed it more, but I don't really know if it's enough, or you might want to take it to the next level. I don't know if you want to do this with the efficiency. It might cause some problems, but you can create a scoreboard timer for each player and then activate this return function after a certain amount of ticks of the scoreboard timer. But that's really flexible. All that matters is you have this damage and you have this return, and you run the damage, and then the return gets run later. And you can figure that out yourself. I'm assuming you're not going to just use this data pack on its own. You'll probably take the functions and move them around. But I just wanted to have this here as a resource. Anyways, that's it for today, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.